Going on, everybody? Welcome back to another amazing episode of Beyond the Creek podcast. As you guys know, we are all about leveling up the concrete coatings, concrete industry, one contractor, one floor at a time. So we have another amazing opportunity to talk to a marketing gentleman, because lead flow and lead generation has been your number one issue. I don't care what you say, it has been. So guys, super excited to have Jesse Taylor on today's podcast to go over marketing, lead flow, lead generation, automation, AI, and all the fancy stuff. So Jesse, man, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, all right. So why don't you kind of give everybody a quick 2-minute bio, kind of who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I started Never Stop Agency about 2 years ago. At the beginning of 2023, I started as a lead gen agency, just getting leads for guys. I just put my feelers out there. I worked with a couple of different companies, and one of them happened to be an epoxy contractor out of Colorado. And I ended up figuring out that I liked working with the epoxy space the most out of everybody I was working with. But the natural progress from there ended up being, getting people leads, getting that gentleman leads, and then finding more epoxy guys. And I started to see that ultimately it almost didn't matter how many leads you were getting, like stuff was going to slip through the cracks. And sometimes it would get so overwhelming, guys would, have to halt what they were doing. And I started looking at what I needed to do as a lead gen company. And that led me into building out automations to help them stay on top of all of the quotes that they were sending out, all of the lead flow that was coming in. And then that's where the AI came in. I implemented that to help with like the incoming calls while they're doing jobs, or, that's where a lot of that leak would come through, is guys running the business super busy, but they have the leads coming in. And so I tried to figure out what was the solution to that. Obviously you can't not have ads. Like you were saying, lead flow is a huge problem. You need to be out there, but if you're on the tools, what are you going to do? And then you'll lose opportunities because you'll be too busy if something happens, and so that's where I started to look. And that over the last year, that's what I've been building out since like 2024 into that year. That's where that problem came up. So I've been, working with guys, trying to figure out what they need and what would help them, go from lead to close job to review, basically.
Sure. Yeah. So kind of before, coatings, if you will, right? You were obviously kind of in the marketing space. Have you always kind of been in the marketing space, social media, Google, what got you even into marketing?
Yeah, marketing, if people can see me, I am rather tattooed, and I used to be in the music industry, and I was doing that. I was going on tour, and in the touring world, you have to market those shows. So I started to get my feet wet with marketing through the band. And then when COVID happened, I was in school for a business degree, and the music stuff stopped at that point. And I think a lot of people did pivot during COVID. It kind of forced that, Yeah. So I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying that on. I don't know if
whatever you want.
It forced people to shift, and so I started looking at well, what do I know? What can I do to help, and then help myself in the process. Obviously, start a business, but I knew the marketing, and I wanted to dive deeper into it to try to generate. Marketing shows is a little bit different than marketing products, right? So I had to make that shift. And I just realized, I was like, man, I'm helping these guys. I can get them leads, but that's what I'm saying. Then it shifted to how do I help them operate the business so they can, scale really. So,
sure. Okay. Yeah. So, a lot of our customers and a lot of things that we do here is we take a customer or a business essentially from nothing, right? And then try to grow them into scaling 1 trailers, 2 trailers, and stuff like that. So we have a lot of people that are going to be listening to this that are brand new. I just finished a training class yesterday, and guys who are, oh shit, what is my next step for marketing, right? So we're talking a guy who just got his LLC running, maybe just got some equipment, some training and stuff like that. Can you kind of give a blueprint without kind of giving your secrets away, of where would somebody start getting their first job?
Yeah. I always talk to guys about this through my content. I have some stuff posted out there. I have some resources for guys that are basically how do you go from that to actually running ads? And then like where you picked up there, there's more stuff after that. You got to close the jobs, you got to build the teams and get yourself out, right? But like I said, so people can always go and find that. They can reach out to me and it's free. I have free guides for that. It's like literally step 1, step 2, but the first couple of steps are free. I always tell guys, some guys, it's like floor prep. There's certain steps that you got to follow, or doing the floor prep is the first step, right? So there's a process that you follow, and you should follow that process. If you skip the floor prep, I think everybody, even the newer guys, will probably know what happens. It's not a good situation, right? And like you might get the floor to adhere, but it's not going to stick, right? You know what I mean? You're going to run into a bunch of problems. So that's the same thing with skipping some of the steps in the process. So I tell guys the first step really is in 2025 a website. You have to have a website. If you don't have a website, you're not going to hit on all of the SEO markers. So you're basically invisible. From there, you need a Google profile. You need to get reviews on that profile. If you're getting customers in where you can get reviews, you should be asking them for referrals. And on top of that, you should be documenting what you can. Hey, look at this. We're on this job. We're mixing up this product. We're broadcasting the product. This is the customer happy. Trying to get as many pieces of content as you can and build up not just the reviews, but also like your content file if you're starting out. Best thing to do, because when you get to ads, you're going to need all of the content as well. And then that once you've got that free stuff kind of moving, the referrals, reviews, content, that should, and the website, that should kind of cover you for SEO and organic. And then you can start looking at pouring fuel on the fire with the ads. And then from there, I always tell guys, once you got ads running, that's when you start implementing your automations and start, making things run smoother at that point. So
Sure. Okay. So again, guys kind of starting up, budget, right? Cash is kind of king right now, right? So organic posting, let's just start with that, right? So it's not, we'll get into the details in a second, but if we start organic posting, somebody's going to, like myself, I want to organic post a job. What should we post? Should we post equipment? Do we post people? Do we post on social media, Facebook? Is it Instagram? What is the initial thing for somebody to start? Should they be doing videos or pictures before, after? So what's the initial organic stuff that would be attracting a lead?
I love that you bring it up. Video always will perform better across all of the social media platforms in my experience. So the more video, the better. And in that's the first level, I guess. Photos are never really bad, but you kind of, if you understand the content you want to do before and afters. And so it's a little bit easier to show that full effect if you're doing a video versus just like a photo of the garage before and a photo of the garage after. Those look good together and people will react to that. But we live in a TikTok age now where, everybody's attention span is so short and you got to like show them, hey, this is what it was. This is what it looks like. Do you want to do it? Like in 3 seconds, you just got to and sometimes those photos don't fully capture that, but same thing. It's good to have photos of like you. I see a lot of guys take like yard signs with them or something, and they'll like hold that with the customer, and like that is good because, on the deeper side of things, the psychology of that is people don't really want to, if you're a new guy, for example, we're talking about these new guys. If you're new and you're like, hey, I do this epoxy, but no one's ever worked with me before. People know that, and it's going to create a lot of resistance. So then if they can see photos of customers smiling with their garage, it like cuts that down and makes the ability to close that lead a lot better even. So, they kind of start tying into a lot of each other, but before and afters, photos of like that's what we call social proof. It's like socially there's proof that you can do what you're doing. There's happy customers, right? So you need to show that's you could get away with just doing results and proof and reviews ultimately, because it's showing people like, look, you can kind of say, hey, we can do the job. These people are happy. You'll be like them at the end. You know what I mean? But I do tell guys, like, for the aesthetics and for growing the page and like your brand, you do want videos. You want, you don't want to just show reviews only, basically. So a healthy mix of stuff is good, but content will get you far. It really will if you do it the right way. There's some metallic guys that I work with. That's like basically all that they do is just post Instagram videos. And, it's like, dude, you can get jobs that way. That's amazing, so.
Yeah. So let's elaborate on that, but let's touch on what you're kind of doing right now with Never Stop, right? So let's focus on that, maybe elaborate a little bit of kind of what your core customer is, what you truly do as the business, and then maybe walk through some of these guys. So I got some new guys that are interested and want to listen to this, and like walk them through kind of what you do and how Never Stop runs, and obviously how they're different.
Yeah, definitely. I think the natural thing to say, like you said, is I give out a lot of this content on how to do some of these steps, because like a website is basically free. Asking for the review, that's basically free. Posting content is, you just got to pull out your phone and then post it, so there's a lot of steps that guys can do on their own, and it doesn't cost anything. And I just decided to kind of teach guys how to do that, to help, with in the same way you go about things. It seems like I just wanted to give that there, because I can't really help guys a lot with what I really do in those phases too much too. If they don't have lead flow, they don't really have anything for me to help them close. So, it depends on where they're at, but my ideal customer is somebody that's already running ads already. They already have that flow coming in, and they're like, hey, I'm like closing what I can close. And like, I'm doing fine. I'm doing 30K, but like, I also have, another 30 leads that I can't even talk to right now. And so my automations can come in, and I can push those people through the system, get them quotes, get them scheduled, and then get the guys in front of them a lot more, So again, if you don't have that lead flow, it makes it a lot harder for me to be able to do stuff. And then I used to build out websites and Google pages and stuff, and I'll do it sometimes, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's something that the business owner can do themselves, and it's not really what I help with. I just know that world, so I just kind of give that info out. I'm like, hey, go build a website. This is how you do it. Put these words on the page. Get a Google post. This, I like try to teach them what to do on that side, so that way they can come to me and be like, look, I got to running ads, and now my business is stalling out, and I need help with the systems and the process. And so that's what again, like I said, I focus on. I think what I see a lot of times with my clients is that they'll send out quotes. They'll go on site. They'll get the lead in. They'll book an on-site inspection. They'll get there, and then stuff dies out from there. It could be pricing. It could be that they're looking at other options like tile or DIY kits or whatever. But same thing at that point. It's like you're almost got them closed, but you're also too busy still as a business owner to like really dedicate the time to implement following up. And some of the stuff can be done with automations to kind of clear out some of the non-effective or non-valid leads, I guess. But that's what I try to do, is just kind of like, hey, you should probably call this person. Like they're almost about to close. You need to call them and just see if we can work with them a little bit. See if we can move on some of the numbers, some of the scope. What are they thinking? Where are they at? What's going on? But like I said, I see a lot of guys just not even have the process to know, like, hey, should I jump in here? So I think the process is a lot of what the automations ties into that, but it's more so that how do we get the customer from coming into the system, making sure that they get booked, making sure that they get the quote. If we do the job, making sure that we're asking for reviews, which ties back to the beginning of like, if you're trying to start, you need the reviews, all of that, so I try to connect that full circle for guys to where there's a process that goes from new lead, sent quote, and then, like I said, identifying, hey, like, is your marketing bad? Are leads coming in and we're not booking anything? That's a very bad marketing problem. But if you're able to book on sites and go see them and give them a number, there is something else that's happening. They're upset about the price, or they don't see the value in what you're doing versus this other thing. You got to talk to them more. Yeah. You got to sell to them. And so, yeah, that's what my focus is now. Like I said, not just the lead gen piece and getting leads in. I do run ads for guys as well. But again, like I think the best way to say it is like, leads aren't paying the bills. The jobs that close are paying the bills. So how do we close more jobs? That's my focus now, is, get you more money.
Wow, every business owner wants that, right? So, but the biggest problem that we find of owner operators is they don't have the time. Okay, so when you mentioned this earlier, and we call this speed to lead. So that phone rings and it's in their back pocket and they're grinding, they don't hear it, they don't call them back, blah, 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 right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of what I'm hearing is some of your systems put it in automation. So if somebody fills out a form, right, it's automation, they're getting, hey, this is Tony, blah, 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 and, you know, kind of get some automations and stuff. And your system might kind of help start nurturing a lead and then kind of pass on a warm lead. Is that, am I wrong with that? Or
no, you're exactly correct. And I think sometimes it's hard to explain the full system in fullness for sure. But when the leads come in, typically if that's from like a Facebook ad, let's say, we'll ask some questions about the project. They come in and I actually do tell them I'll tell them to request a ballpark quote. So my system will automatically, I'll ask the business owners, hey, what do you charge for flake from bottom dollar to top dollar? What do you charge for metallics, bottom dollar to top dollar? And so the customers will come in and they can either schedule an on-site inspection automatically. So they come in and they're like, yeah, I still want the job come to my house. Yeah. Like, so they're qualifying themselves essentially by booking. But I do also have a path where I send them a ballpark quote. So like I let the customers tell us what type of project they want, what the square footage is and when they want to get it done. And my system does all of the math and sends them an email. Hey, it'll be from this price to this price. If that's okay with you, we'll go like book an on-site here. So the whole goal in my system is to bring in the leads and book the on-site. I might do some qualification processes in the process, but yeah, my AI even does some of that as well. Like if somebody messages on Facebook, the AI is preloaded with those questions, like what type of concrete, what's the square footage? Okay, cool. Do you want us to book and the AI itself will actually book the appointment, like a in-person representative talking to the person. So my clients really don't have to handle that front lead flow. As soon as like when they come in, my system's doing everything and they just show up to the inspections that we booked on site. So they don't have to do any of that, you know, back and forth. And yeah, I do a little bit of pre-selling as well before the on-site. I'll send out some stuff saying, hey, look at our floors, look at how good we are, you know. So I start nurturing before they show up as well, like you mentioned. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So elaborate maybe too, like, okay, so somebody fills out a lead form on Facebook, their website, right? That kind of automation. So what happens on the Google side of things, right? So maybe it's elaborating on Google profile business, right? So that, and more importantly, if somebody calls the company on a phone, literally calls them, is that going to you? Is it going to the business owner, or is that an AI bot too?
It is. Yeah, Google tends to be it generates a lot more phone calls. You know, Facebook is usually like submissions and forms and whatnot. Google can too, but Google does drive a lot of phone calls, whether that's on the Google ad side or the Google profile. If somebody looks up epoxy, they call. It's going to call the business. For some of my guys, I think for some of the guys you work with as well that I've implemented this with, I do have an AI system, and it's the same thing. So when the phone calls come in, it will try to qualify them to some extent, and I can always adjust this for guys as well, you know, if they want to ask certain questions before the call gets transferred. But yeah, my AI system, it will, as those calls come in, it's just like, hey, thanks for calling X company. Are you looking for a project? Okay. And it you know, because you could get spam calls as well. And I've learned that a lot of those guys won't answer those questions. So if they answer all of those questions, my system is like, okay, they've got a type, they've got square footage. You know, again, a scammer is not necessarily going to answer all of that. They're trying to their one track focus of like talking to somebody, you know. So so the system itself can kind of filter out spam and then just transfers directly to the owner. And so that's something that I mentioned to my guys. I'm like, hey, I have this phone number connected to the CRM. If somebody does call in, if only one phone number is going to call you, you're going to know that it's a lead from my system, that they're qualified, that you're going to know you need to answer that call. There's not maybe I can get back late. Like, you'll know that you need to, you know. So
okay. Yeah, that was a question that actually kind of came up in my training yesterday. So I had to ask, and it's good to know because that's crucial information. Because again, there's a majority of our customers that are smaller owner operators that don't have an office person or whatever that is. And you lose one lead, it sucks, right? And let's be honest, they're leading 10 to 30 a month on this. That's significant revenue that they're losing on that. So, you know, here's a question, and I'm going to play devil's advocate on this, right? So our industry is very unique, and everybody feels marketing companies are unique. Okay. Now they're always going to say my lead sucked. Okay. And I just saw your post about this, I think yesterday or the day before, right? Now, is it a lead suck or is it a closing problem, right? And you touched on that earlier. Okay. Now, when you talk to customers like this, and they're going to say, hey, I got 50 leads and I couldn't close 10 or whatever that is, right? Like, realistically, where's the breakdown? Is it truly a sales issue if we've marketed to the right people, you've qualified them, and you've got in front of them? Like, people always say it's a lead generation problem. Is it though?
It can be. I think the main factor that I see is that people aren't tracking anything. So if you need to know how many leads you're getting, you need to know how many on-sites have been scheduled. You need to know how many quotes you were able to send and how many closed. And when you can track those numbers, you can see like, okay, well, if I'm getting 50 leads, and then the next is scheduling on-site, but our on-site booking rate is like 10%. That's trash. That should be like 80, 90%, you know? So that's what I'm saying. So when you know that, it's like, well, the leads are coming in and they're not doing anything. We're not able to get them a number and sell to them. So it's a lead, that's a lead quality issue. Something's happening with the leads and the marketing side of things. If they are coming in, if the leads are coming in and they're telling you, I want flake, because that's, like I said, on my end, I say, do you want a flake floor, a metallic floor, a grind and seal? What do you want? So they're picking, I want flake. It's 1,000 square foot and I prefer it on this. So if they're like, that's a qualified lead. They want a project done. Right. Yeah. But if the problem is that you go to that on-site inspection and you give them a number and they don't move forward, that's a sales problem. What's happening on the side of the sale? You were able to get in front of them because, again, if you can't get in front of them, that's the marketing. But you have to be tracking all of this. Like, and I think it's easier sometimes. I think people, I on a philosophical level, I try really hard to blame myself and everything that's going on. If something's happening with one of my companies that I'm working with, I did something wrong in the process to where they're confused. Like, they might be confused, but it's my fault. You know what I'm saying? And in the epoxy space, or just in business in general, in relationships, it's easier to kind of like, oh, my marketing is bad because I don't know anything and I'm trying to figure out what I need to do, but I don't know my numbers. So I can't even tell you if it is my close rate or not. You know, and they don't really actually know the difference. And so that's the thing. It could be marketing. A lot of times I come in and I don't know if that's really come across as like, I do run ads. I used to be a lead gen company, but I focus a lot more on this. So there's some people I work with that are already working with marketing agencies, and they'll bring me on and we'll start working together. And it becomes pretty clear. It's like, hey, whatever marketing company you're working with, this is not good. And like not saying you have to work with me, but you need to talk to them. You need to let them know what's happening and give them a chance to fix it maybe, or find a different marketing company. But sometimes I will hook things up and I start looking at the numbers and I'm like, hey man, like this is not good. You've sent out like $500,000 worth of estimates and you've only closed like 50K, dude. Like, I don't know what, there's a big discrepancy here. We've got the leads in, but here's something's happening on the business side. And that's what I like to find out. I want to find out what the actual answer is so we can solve that bottleneck. If it is marketing, if it is sales, we got to find that. So that way, you know, then everything starts moving. Actually, if the leads are coming in and you're getting reviews, you can start to scale. You'll be able to depend on your lead flow. You'll know who you can hire. You'll know what teams you can build, and you know, so on and so forth. So for me, it all comes down to tracking. If you want to know those answers, we have to track it. But it could be both people is the thing. So,
and I've seen on both sides too. You know, I mean, I've had customers and say, I got 50 leads and 49 of them didn't even answer their phone. The other one of guys said, I don't even know who you are. I didn't click on this shit, right? And then we've also had 50 leads, you run 50 and they close 5. Exactly your example. So I see it on both sides of things. And when we, as distributors, I want to try to give my guys as many sales tools as possible because I'm not a marketing guy. I let you guys handle that. But I'll give them every single tool that if you can get in front of somebody, we're going to teach you how to increase your close rate, you know? So that's where I want to be at, because that's where I see where a lot of people they're not educated, they're not confident, they just got to present themselves and build the value. Because again, lead generation is one thing, but selling is everything.
Right. And then I would just add too, I mean, like I said, I don't know if everybody knows, but I work with a few guys that work with Valence, and like they're very strong closers for sure. Super strong closers, to your point. But even with that, there's still owner operators, and there's still that time gap. And like and I can come in and say, hey, let me blast out all of those things and just ask if they're still interested, and let's get them on the phone if they are. And let's, like these old quotes, let's see if we can kind of close more people. That's always my goal, was close more guys for you, so.
Yeah. No, that's important now. Okay. So again, I'm up in Minnesota, and it's obviously starting to get cold up here, right? We're going to move into slow season. Okay. So we have some people up here that shut down. Other people want to continue on. We have the theory of, I'm going to stop all marketing, save my cash flow, and I'm going to get going again in April 1st. We have another say, I'm going to do a trickle kind of marketing, or screw it, I'm going to go all in on marketing from November 1st through April 1st, and I want to go all in the 100 months, knowing I probably won't get as many leads, but I still have that presence.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? What's the best scenario there for a northern guy who might slow down significantly right now?
Again, it really does depend on if they have, like, if for somebody, a company that has, 50, 60, 70 reviews on a Google profile, like the advice is going to be a little bit different for them, because they are going to still have some lead flow that they're not spending ad spend on. So, and then if there's like a guy that has just no market recognition, he's still pretty new, you might want to keep the fuel on that fire, even if it does cost you a little bit. It's like you at the very least, if you break even, you're at least still progressing the business by getting reviews and making a name in your market, because that's the problem now, right? In that moment, So again, it just really depends on where the guys are at. But I generally, I've been working with epoxy guys since I started. Like I mentioned, that was like one of my first clients, and he's in Colorado, and he just runs all year, and it is pretty cold out here too, but I know Minnesota might be a little bit different sometimes, a little bit colder. So I don't know.
It can be, but we can still do installations year round with some of the polyurethane and the material. So moisture is one thing, but people just kind of feel like it's not worth it to market. I'm just literally going to shut the whole entire faucet off. And I look at it as a branding side of thing, right? So like, if I'm going to say April or November 1st, I'm stopping it through April 1st. Therefore, I'm a ghost for those 6 months. And when I understand Google and Facebook, right, they understand consistency quite a bit. They might change their algorithms, but if you just stop, it might take 30, 60, 90 days to get going again. And now we're in July before you're really ramped up.
Yeah, that's a big thing with Facebook too. It's almost always best to kind of keep your campaigns running, as long as you that's the marketing side of it. Is like, yeah, it is better to keep it up and running, because you're gonna, when you have to restart in April, it's going to mess with your costs, your lead costs, and you're going to have to like kind of invest to get yourself up and running again, basically. That's kind of how the nature of the game with all these guys. You got to like put some money in, and then the train is kind of moving, to be fair, I don't know why they do it that way, but it's just part of like the thing. If you stop in November and start back in April, it just kind of drags out. So if you can maintain it, it just is more optimal, basically, if you can. So that's my thing too. It's like, we should just try to close as much jobs where your ad spend doesn't really bother you that much, and you can just keep running all year, like that. That's really probably my best answer. So can we close so you don't have to even worry about it? Just keep your stuff up there, because if there are other guys running, they are going to get those leads, and they are going to get those jobs, and you might want to. I think again, it kind of comes down to because they're owner operators. It is like, what are you doing? I know one gentleman is having a baby right now, and it's like, hey, I can't go full out right now. So can we build some stuff back? Again, I think there's some interesting sides with it being owner operators sometimes like that, and not having those teams. That ties into that answer a little bit too, versus like some of my guys that have like two man crews or something, they're like flowing a little bit different at that point. So they can kind of bear the winter budget, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. But guys, you just got to go back and rewind that. Listen, close more jobs so you make more profit so you can market year round, right? That's the answer to that.
Right.
All right. So as we're going to kind of wrap up here for a little bit now, what does the future look like in marketing? Now, if you kind of got some insights, don't give away your secrets by any means like that. But, I mean, algorithms, all this stuff changes every single day. Facebook just came out with something different. I don't even know what it was all about. But like, where do you see the future? Where are you going with it? Again, kind of share what you can. But like, what do we need to look for?
Yeah, I think AI is always an interesting conversation. And I was on a call yesterday and we were talking about how it seems like the people that are benefiting the most from AI is these smaller businesses. Like, it's not really helping, Google can use it, you know what I'm saying? But they were already like a massive company with all of these levers where they could kind of do that through the business structure. And now all of these smaller guys have that capacity to kind of compete almost because of AI. So it's always an interesting thing on that side of things. And like we talked about, freeing up the worry of the speed to lead, that's insane. Just being able to book appointments, that takes off a ton of workload for an owner operator instantly. And that scale is just massive, really. So that's what I'm saying. I think it benefits the small businesses a lot more right now. And just seeing how can I implement this stuff and how can I, how can I stay involved with it? Because to answer your other part of your question, is where I see most of this going is actually sort of like Jarvis almost. I think it might even go to that level where there's an actual bot physically around us. But even not, if you don't go that far, what I see in the CRM spaces and the marketing and all of this and the AI is I think voice is going to become a big thing where you can kind of get on an app on your phone and say, hey, app, can you send this customer an estimate for this much, for this scope? You just speak it and the systems will do it for you. Hey, robot, can you do this? Hey, can you follow up on this? You just have to say it and it'll orchestrate it. I really do think that's the interface. Right now, you interact with AI through ChatGPT, but I do believe it's going to end up going to voice things, which is just interesting. It's very complex for me to think about that side of stuff, but yeah, I also know that the epoxy industry is growing a lot and a ton. And I see some guys, I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar with the stretch sealing and have you seen that stuff? Yeah. So I think long term, I hope that I would see guys, whether it's again flake or metallics. I think what I'm saying here is a little bit more on the metallic side of things, but seeing guys doing full remodels on places, doing the ceiling, doing the floor, just kind of gutting entire places and making it just these super extravagant, places. So that's another thing I see coming is just a way more, not just floors, full remodel stuff. I saw that in the landscaping space. Guys started doing lawn care, and then they started doing turf, and then now there's these guys called outdoor living pros, and they kind of go in and do the whole thing: pergolas, fireplaces, turf, lighting, everything, right? So I think that might be where epoxy ends up going sometime, is where there's these guys that can kind of come in and just hey, we can redo this entire place, it's completely different, So yeah, I don't know if that answered your questions or if you were looking more. For me, like I said, I think it's going to get kind of crazy. What are the implications of that voice? If you can just speak to it and it's going to do everything for your business, what happens in the business world when we're at that level? I have no idea, but I think it's coming. So
think about stuff like that, and I went to an AI summit, I guess, down with Bob and Leanne, and Tim Kennedy spoke on AI, and he's a freaking AI master. And it was terrifying, but exciting at the same time, to listen to what he was talking about. And man, it really opened up my eyes, and I really kind of got to dive deeper into it and actually build some chat, actually building some of that stuff. And my wife's super good at that. And Yeah, terrifying but exciting because it's completely changing the landscape every single day.
Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing what happens. I hear some of the guys say, there's gonna be like teams of 4 that are gonna be able to close out like billions, in their business. It's like I have a feeling that is what's gonna happen eventually.
Well, I need that blueprint.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's good though. So all right, so let's wrap up. So all right, first things first, where can people find you? What is the best way to get a hold of you? If you want to talk pricing or some of what your structure, do it now. If not, I'll put it down in the description below, or I'll just have them contact you. I just want to make sure that you kind of get a chance to make sure that you can, talk about what you want.
Yeah, definitely. If people want to reach out to me or contact me, if they want to talk to me about business stuff, neverstopagency.com is the best place to go. It's just a landing page, and you can book a call directly with me, and we can like get on the call just like this and talk about your business. I also own the Metallic Epoxy the Facebook group for Metallic Epoxy Contractors Grow Circle is what it's called. That's a long name. Yeah, that group's up. I mean, not compared to other guys. There's some epoxy groups that are like 14,000, way higher, but I got about 1,000 guys in there, contractors, other guys that are basically like who is listening in here. And, sometimes people will post job listings in there, and I've had a couple guys find project managers and stuff in that group. So the group is a good asset for sure. I post a lot in there. And then my YouTube channel, which is just Never Stop Agency. Everything should be branded to Never Stop Agency. I post a lot of content about, like I said, how to set up websites and do all of that stuff. That's what I post there. Okay. As far as like pricing goes and stuff, I don't really mind talking about it ever. But the problem always is that, somebody could be looking at as a startup, and they might have different needs than a guy that is running ads. And then there's some guys that come that need the system and the ads. It can be a wide range. And then also, there's a lot more that I do that we didn't talk about as well that kind of adds in. But yeah, I don't know. This is the best thing to do usually is to actually speak with me, and we can go through like your numbers, where you're at, and what would be the best game plan. And then I can actually prescribe like a solution at that point and give costs and whatnot for that. So
yeah, and that's fine. So, all right, guys, Jesse's information will be in the description below. There'll be the link to the website. You're going to go to the website, book a call with him, get a free consultation. But what I heard even more than that, or on top of that, is check out the website is important, but check out the YouTube, right? So again, there's tons of free content on there. So start diving into that, do a little bit of research, give Jesse a call, and then kind of figure out. So, all right, my one last question for you.
Yeah.
As we move into 2026, what is one piece of information or knowledge drop you want to put on a customer who's just getting into the industry?
To not skip those steps, man. The process is a process for a reason, just like it is in flooring. So I think I laid that out. It's like we went through from website to ads to make sure you do all of that, because there's a lot I didn't talk about. But as long as you follow those steps, you will be fine with your lead flow. You'll end up with a bunch of leads, and you'll end up probably reaching out to me like, hey, how do I implement these systems? But again, even if we don't work together, the amount of guys I see that don't have that foundational piece of like the reviews, it's when you run a Google ad, people are going to go look at your Google profile. And if you don't have a website, like, don't skip those steps, do the process, just like you do the floors, follow the process. And everything in life kind of should have that process, and you should be following the steps. It's fun. It might feel better to try to skip ahead, but it's going to hurt you in the long run, so
there's no shortcuts to success. So we're going to wrap it up with that. Amen. So, all right, guys, follow the steps, follow the process, click on that link below. If you guys have any questions for myself or Jesse, please reach out. But guys, we're going to end this today. Jesse, appreciate you guys coming on, dropping all the knowledge. Again, guys, this has been another amazing episode of Beyond the Creek podcast. We're trying to level up everybody one step, one floor at a time. Jesse just brought a lot of marketing knowledge because, again, lead flow, lead generation. And I'm telling you guys right now, speed to lead is king. Get good in front of a camera, learn how to shoot videos, and post organically and paid ads every single day. That's a consistent way to grow your business. So That's what I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys. We're going to get off. Stay tuned for another episode. If you guys liked this one, please click the like button, click subscribe, and then tune in for another bunch of episodes that we got. So Jesse, again, thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Pete. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, you got it, man. All right. We're out, guys. See you, guys.